What happens when you are a sport and performance psychologist and you get injured? Do you have to now go seek somebody else's help, or do you have to just rely on your years of experience? This is a scenario that has happened to Dr. JoAnne Bullard, whose name you might recognize, as she has been a part of the Everyday Athlete by Run Try Bike probably since the beginning, or very close to from the beginning of when we started, as she has provided great insight into sports psychology over the last number of years with a monthly article on our website. And I'm super excited to talk to her. It's unfortunate that we're going to have to talk to her about getting injured and using all of the tips and tricks that she would help her patients and clients with, and figure out how she is handling this process on for herself as well. Before we bring her on, as you know, subscribe, rate, review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform, as well as on YouTube. It helps us with the algorithm. But one of the things I'm going to ask you to do specifically is comment. The commenting helps us figure out who else to bring on the show so that we can keep bringing you these great guests. And so that's enough of that. Let's bring on JoAnne. Let's dive into this scenario and have some fun. JoAnne, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I couldn't remember how long you and I have been working together with the articles, but I know we obviously got connected through Maria and the No Limits Endurance
Yep.
Coaching scenario. It's got to be like 4 years, right? Maybe 5?
Oh, definitely. I think it was in the beginning when you
Yeah,
started. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was in the very, very beginning too. And your information has been so invaluable for not just myself, because I get to read the articles 3 or 4 times before I publish them, but also for our readers, because I do get DMs and I get text messages sometimes as well. We're in a unique situation with you where you have been injured for almost a year now,
Mhm.
and you have probably had to incorporate a lot of the things that you would relay to your clients. And I want to get into that a little bit in a second. But if you don't mind explaining to our audience the injury that you suffered and how you came about to realize that you were injured.
Sure. Absolutely. So I was diagnosed with bilateral chronic compartment syndrome. I was diagnosed last July of 2025, but I was struggling with the symptoms since my training cycle. My last marathon I ran was the Philly Marathon in November 2022. And then I ran the Disney Half in January 2023. And I remember, and I'll explain all this as we go on, but I was looking back at my training peak notes, and I had a number of training runs during those cycles where I'm like, why are my toes falling asleep? Why can't I really feel the outside, like my peroneal area on the outside of my legs? But I kept going. I kept training. I was pushing through, and I thought, maybe I'm too tight. Go ahead.
Let me
Oh, were
ask
you
you a
saying something?
question.
Yeah.
When did you look at your Training Peaks notes? Like recently, or maybe a year ago, as you
A
were.
while back, yeah, when I
Okay.
was trying to figure out, like, how long has
Yeah.
this really been going on?
Gotcha.
So there were little things, and I remember I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna buy new shoes," or, "Oh, I'm gonna tie my shoelaces a different way," or whatever it is.
Right.
And I got through the marathon. I ran the half marathon. It was great. Then I always would give myself a break in the winter months where I would go more into cross training. It's very dark outside. I just needed some
Yeah.
downtime. And then I was starting my next training cycle. So it was in, I think, like March, April when I began again. And the symptoms were still there. They were getting a little bit more intense. But I thought, oh, I took a couple months off. I just have
Getting
to
started
rebuild.
again.
Just
Yep.
have to rebuild. Maybe I need more stretching, more core work, more, all that. And to motivate myself, I signed up for another half marathon, to get myself pushing forward. And I wasn't enjoying running as much because I was in pain. So fast
When
forward.
you say
Yeah.
pain,
Hmm.
how can you define that for us? Because here's one of the things I believe happens with athletes.
Yeah.
They have I'm a part of the process. Problem in identifying
Hmm.
versus pain versus acute pain versus shut
Hmm.
it all down, right? Like,
Hmm.
so when you said that you were in pain, Was your first inclination like, "Oh, I'm just sore because I'm starting up?" As time went along, you were like, "No, no, no, this is actual pain."
Yes, absolutely. And I think the way you worded that was perfect, right? Because there's always going to be the aches, there's always going to be the soreness. And
Right.
I think that also happens as we go through different life cycles too, different
Yeah.
changes. So I attribute it to I need to do more stretching. I need to do more stuff behind the scenes before I get out for my training runs. Maybe a little bit longer of a warm up. I can't just get up and go. And even with doing that, I was still in pain. And
And
to
some of that
me, the way good,
and some of that stuff is very humbling, right? Like, because 'cause you're like, "I
totally.
just gotta get started again," and you're like, "But I've run a marathon, I've run multiple half marathons, and
Yep.
why is this at this moment?" And it's humbling, and this is where the psychology part of it comes in. It's like, how do you start identifying all this? So but go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So pain for me got extremely intense, and that's where I'll lead into me recognizing something is not right. So, in July of 2024, I was like, I bought the shoes, I bought new shoes, I was trying different things, I was doing run walk intervals, but here was my problem. I could not run at that point in time longer than a spurt of 5 minutes continuously without experiencing, this is what I would describe to my husband, fire on the outside of my legs. And my feet would feel like Frankenstein feet. They would feel like they were just slapping and slamming. The second I would stop running, it would go away. So then in my head, I'm like, well, let's play the game. If I want to get my miles in or my minutes in, I'm going to do intervals. So I'll do run walk intervals of 5 minutes. It was not enjoyable because I was still experiencing this pain.
Right,
And then it got to the point I couldn't even get to 5 minutes. So I could get to then about 3 minutes total. If I got to five, it was like a miracle.
right.
So in July of 2024, I made an appointment with a local podiatrist just off the cuff, like don't have any connection with this podiatrist. And I teach in the health and exercise science field. So I'm doing my research ahead of time and I self-diagnosed myself with chronic compartment syndrome. So I walk in telling the podiatrist, I just want you to know that I believe I have
Of
chronic
course.
compartment syndrome. And this podiatrist was very nice. And he looked at me and he said, no, there's no way you have that. Absolutely no way you have that. You don't log enough miles. You're not like in that certain type of a shape, da 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 da. And I was like, okay. So he diagnosed me with shin splints, which I was like, my shins don't hurt, but okay, and peroneal issues. So he wrote me a script for PT. I have the best PTs. I went to PT and I went through my 6 to 8 weeks of PT and I'm still like, something's not right. And my PTs, I could tell they were kind of like, they can't say anything, right? But they were kind of like, yeah, I don't. Did dry needling, did it
Wait,
all.
why can't they say anything? Is it
Well,
because
they
the
can't change
doctor's
like a
orders?
diagnosis. Yeah,
Gotcha,
they
okay.
can't. Yeah, I mean, like it would be like, I don't know, me telling somebody, oh, you went to somebody else. Well, I think you have this, not that.
Right, yeah.
So, and they're amazing. They're who I'm with now. They're awesome. But did the dry needling, did everything. Now at this point in time, I was scheduled to run the Disney half in January 2025. We did a whole family trip, everything planned. And in October 2024, when I finished PT and I went back to the podiatrist, and he said, well, maybe get some compression socks. And that was it. Um, that was my last run. So I couldn't,
October of
again,
'24.
October 2024. So then I went through like a grieving period, which I think is something we might come back to at some point. I don't know in this
Yeah, yeah.
conversation, but I went through a lot of grieving of, okay, so what do I do now? Like we're still going to go on to Disney. I have 4 kids. We're going to have a blast. We're going to have fun. Um, but what do I do now that I can't run?
So let
Cause
me ask you this real quick.
yeah,
So the idea that you're going to Disney, Disney's not like walk 10 feet and you're done. Like you're walking miles
correct.
at Disney, right? And I know earlier you said that walking wasn't an issue, but was there any concern that walking as much as you would be at Disney, was that a concern for you? Like with the
No,
back? No.
Not at that point, and I'll get to when that came into play. Definitely down the road. Yeah. So at that point in the fall and winter, I was just kind of like, all right, I'll do the Peloton, I'll strength train. Um, I mean, we're all runners, a lot of us. It's not the same,
Yeah,
and I
no,
kind
it's
of
not.
was, no, and I was kind of like, well, who am I now? How do I
Yeah,
get motivated? So I really struggled with that piece, but I thought time's going to heal it. Like,
right.
oh, I'll just take more time off. And before you know it, I'll be back. So that spring, um, mind you, I still haven't run. I was walking around a track at one of my son's lacrosse practices. And when I say walking, like I'm on the phone with somebody. I'm not speed walking, not Olympic walk, like
This is not New York
just,
City walking.
yeah, just no. No, no, no. No.
For those
um,
of you who don't know, JoAnne is from the Northeast, so she
yes, my
understands New
husband's
York
from the
City walking.
Bronx.
Yeah,
Yes, so that, no, not that type of walking. I mean, so nothing intense. And I'm taking a lap. I think I got a half a mile in. And I even remember this because this is how like how traumatic it's been for me. It was a beautiful March day. I took a picture. I posted it on my stories, like 70 degrees in March. Oh my gosh, get outside. And all of a sudden, I felt it all again. My feet slapping, the burning pain. I went right to my car, cried, called my husband, and I said, something is wrong. We need help. Like, I can't
yeah,
do this anymore. So that's what really started me recognizing I have to advocate for myself because I
yeah,
don't think I tried. I didn't have the right person to help me
yeah.
at that point.
I want to rewind because in the beginning of the conversation, you said that in Training Peaks, you've recently looked at Training Peaks and you put notes in that said
Yeah.
you had an issue with your feet. And one, kudos to you as a coach.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
athletes, please put the notes in, right? It helps. And in this case, it really helps. But then later on, you said when you went to start up the training again, you had issues with your feet, but there was no connection in your mind from the
No,
prior foot issue to
no,
the new foot issue. It was
no.
almost like set it and forget it in a way.
Yeah, because I actually didn't even recall any of the foot numb, like the toe numbness or anything like that. I didn't have a connect the dots moment until truthfully I went through my surgeries.
Gotcha.
That's when I was like, oh my goodness, wow, and I can get into that more as we talk about it because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
an interesting diagnosis and what they do to test for and all that. But that's when I was like, oh my goodness, this has been going on. This is not recent. Like this
Right.
is a development over time.
So let's fast forward to the moment you left off, which was you got in the car and you called your husband, and
Yeah.
this isn't right, and you started talking about self advocacy.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if the emotion in that moment was anger that
Mm,
I've gone to the doctor, I've gone to the PT, and they didn't believe me,
hmm.
or was it determination? You know what? They didn't believe me, but almighty, this shit hurts and I'm getting it. I'm going to get it taken care of my
Yeah.
way now.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit of both. And I do want to say my PTs are awesome. So I'm not throwing them in the
You said
same
it
thing
twice
as my
now, so it's
podiatrist.
clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm with them now and they've been like, they're like my rock. So yeah. But definitely anger, definitely frustration. Big time feeling let down that like the system failed me a little bit,
Right?
and again, reflectively, any
Yeah.
person that goes into a doctor's office and is like, I think I have this, like, of course, a doctor might be a little
Yeah.
defensive.
Right.
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 But,
Oh, I'm glad
but
you
I
went to
was like,
WebMD.
yeah, exactly. Like, well, I'm going to tell you what I have. But yeah, so in March, when that happened, we're great. My husband and I are very fortunate that we have a husband and wife couple. One's a foot surgeon and one is a podiatrist. And I do not know to this day why I didn't go to the podiatrist first. Maybe it was an ego thing. I think I didn't want to go and then be like, oh, you're fine. Like, don't worry about
Right.
it. When I went to the second podiatrist and explained everything in not so many words, it was, we're going to get you an MRI. We have to follow protocol, right? There's certain things you have to do insurance wise,
Yeah.
but let's start there because I think you're onto something. It took a while to get approval for an MRI, got my MRI, showed a lot of swelling and edema. And that's when the podiatrist I went to was like, we got to get you to somebody who can do compartment syndrome testing, which is not common. And I'm in South Jersey, so we don't have very strong hospitals down as far as I am. I'm more towards Atlantic City, closer to
Yeah.
Philly, New York. We have better hospitals. So I have a colleague where I work who's in the physical therapy field. And I called him and I said, I need your help. This is what's going down. And he gave me a recommendation. I went to this one doctor who was amazing. He had his, you know, how they bring in their students.
Yeah.
And as I'm talking, because, you know, now you've said your story how many times?
Right.
So I'm like, well, let me tell. And as I'm talking, he goes, okay, stop. Can you stop for 1 second, please? I said, okay. And he's talking to a student. And this was the first time I was like, maybe I'm not nuts. Because he said, do you hear how she said 3 to 5 minutes? And when she stops, it goes away. But when she starts up again, she can only go 3 to 5 minutes. That's a classic identification for chronic compartment syndrome. And I was like, and he said, no athlete would know like clockwork when it begins, when it stops. So I was like, okay. So then he doesn't do the testing, but someone in his system does the testing. So I had an appointment with that doctor. That doctor schedules me for the compartment syndrome testing. The compartment syndrome testing was probably the most inhumane thing I've been through, and I've had 4 children.
Really? Why is that?
It was intense. So they numb your legs with needles. Then they use a scalpel and they make 4 incisions and they insert, and you're awake for all this, and they insert
I think it's
mano
local, right?
local, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they insert manometers that are pressure readers, like pressure gauges, in
Yeah.
each of those incisions to get your baseline. Then they put band-aids on you and they say, here's the treadmill. And you're in the middle of a physical therapy office and they're like, get it going. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, we need you to replicate the symptoms so we could stick the pressure gauges back in. Mhm. And he said, sometimes your legs are totally numb, so you might not feel it. And I said, give me 3 minutes. And I jacked the incline up. I didn't even run. I was like, seriously, 3 minutes. And he was like, and I raised my hand. I'm like, I'm done. And he's like, what? Threw me back on the table, put the gauges in. Anything over a reading of 30 is considered chronic compartment syndrome. My readings were between 75 and 90 in the
Holy
4
shit.
compartments,
In all of them.
in all of them.
So not even
So
one. Oh my
I
goodness.
think I laughed and thanked
Yeah.
him.
To keep from crying, I'm sure.
And he was like, and I said, you don't know how happy this has made me. And they were like, okay. I'm like, no, because this has been
Right.
like, thank you. What
Yeah.
do I do now? And he was
Well,
like, okay, well.
I want to
So,
ask you this.
yeah,
So the first doctor, you walked in, and I'm going to use an adjective because I'm in marketing. You walked in brazenly and said, "I know
sure.
what I got, doc." And the second time you talked to this doctor, the doctor already knew a little bit of the story.
Yeah,
And so I'm wondering if do you think because we I want to talk about self-advocacy because we hear these stories constantly.
sure.
But I'm wondering if you didn't walk into the first doctor and say, "Here's what I have,"
Yeah.
and allowed the doctor to diagnose you, do you think it would have been any different? Do you think that that first doctor would have been more patient with you? Because I'm guessing, like, right, the way I'm envisioning this
Yeah.
is, and again, I'm from the Bronx, like your husband. Like, you walk into my office and you tell me what I'm doing, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put up a fight.
Well, I wasn't, and you know me, like I'm not combative. I'm
Right.
not. I just walked in and I'm like, I did explain everything that was going through. And I said in a very like kind of calm way, like, do you think it's
Okay.
compartment syndrome? Like more like that. And
So it
he's
was
like,
still
"Oh, no."
dismissive of you
Yeah,
then.
he's like, "Oh, those cases are so rare, so rare. I don't think you had that at all."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." So, and I do trust doctors and physicians. Like, I never go off the cuff with like, I'm always like, "If you say I have this, I have this.
Right.
Like, what I have to do?" So that's where I was like, "I'm just gonna trust him," and maybe it is something peroneal.
So do you,
Maybe it is
so
something, yeah.
then with the second doctor, because
Mhm.
you're now getting quote unquote the second opinion,
Yeah.
that they must know that something didn't happen the first time. So I need to be more aware and looking for something
Yes.
different than the first one, right? So like
Yes.
it's like going through a maze and you've run into the bush, so now you're
Yeah.
backtracking and don't go that same direction because the bush is
Yeah.
gonna be
And
there.
I think because I had tried or I had gone through the 8 to 10 weeks or however long I was in PT, and that
Right.
I guess we would say, I don't wanna say failed, but wasn't productive,
Right.
didn't alleviate. I did dry needling, that didn't
Yep.
alleviate, right? So now it's sort of like, okay, we've tried the conservative approaches. What's going on now?
So from a self advocacy standpoint with the second doctor, were
Mhm.
you prepared in the chance that they didn't diagnose you in a way that you felt was accurate? Were you prepared to be like, "No, no, 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 no." Like you said you weren't combative, but you've now
Yeah.
gone through a lot of shit. Like,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
gone through a lot.
I don't I don't know. I don't know how I would have responded. I think it was the first time I felt heard, like
Yeah,
listened to, um, and someone saying like that's not normal to feel that way. Like something's going on. We just had to figure out what it is because it was between the lines of like, is it compartment syndrome or is it like neurological? Like that's what we were kind of talking about. Like, is something else happening? There's something happening, right?
yeah.
But like what is actually happening? And yeah, so we started with the MRI and that's where we saw the swelling and the podiatrist was like, "All right, this is out of my scope now. Something's going on. Let's get you to the right people."
So when they say that there's something not right here, in
Yeah.
your mind, were you now ready to be more patient? Because somebody is actually hearing me, they're going to work with me, so psychologically, I can be more
Mhm.
patient with this process as opposed to, "Let's find the answer right now," had they
Yes.
said something different.
100%. When I met with I guess the second, we'll say like the podiatrist and then the big team of doctors
Yeah.
within this one hospital. Um, that was July of 2025, and
Mhm.
I literally had an appointment every week, just about in July, and it was as I said before, like that first time that one doctor was telling like their med student, like, "Do you hear what she's saying?" So I was like, okay. And then even when I was with the second doctor before I met with him again for the compartment syndrome testing, same thing. He had his student in and he's talking to his student about what it is. And he was even looking at my legs and he's like, "Look over here in her peroneal area. She has hernias. Like these are
Mhm.
hernias." And I was like, "What?" And because it was very puffy, very swollen. I was just like, I thought I was retaining water. He's like, "No, these are hernias." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my goodness." And then the testing, again, I told you I was like, "Oh, thank God. Like, thank you for," and he was like, "Hmm." But then okay, you're a special person. But then when he referred me to the surgeon, here's the really funny part in my eyes. So he refers me to the surgeon, tells me the surgeon's name, and I'm like, I know this name. This name sounds kind of familiar. So I make my appointment. I get scheduled for the following week, and I'm sitting there, and my surgeon comes in the room, and I go, "Oh my gosh." And he goes, "Why didn't you tell me this last year?" I was on his podcast
No way.
the year prior. And he has a podcast with one of the athletic trainers I work with, and it's called Sport Medicine on Tap. And I was on his podcast, and I immediately felt comfortable
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where I
Of
could be
course.
like,
Right.
"Here's what's going on." And he was like, "Okay, this is what we do. This is what the procedure would be." went through everything, and I felt, like you said, I guess a little bit more patient. I didn't think it was gonna happen as fast because I had surgery the following week.
I was gonna ask
Um,
that question.
yeah, but I felt like, wow, like the stars kind of aligned in a way
Yeah.
where it's like there's somebody I trust. Like, you know, like it just made me feel a little bit more at ease going through a big thing that I didn't know what the outcome would be.
So, because you are a sport and performance psychologist, I want you to take me through the mental aspect of October 24 through surgery day because you're not running.
Mhm.
Um, and there's injury, there's a lack of belief in your
Mhm.
diagnosis, and there is this isn't working, and now I've got to fight harder for myself. Like there's a lot of stuff happening
Yeah,
from October 24 to July slash August of 25 from the mental, because that's a lot of the physical stuff.
sure.
From the mental side of it all, how are you coping? And are you think like here's how I'm envisioning this. If I'm Dr. JoAnne, I would have to like remove myself from my body and talk to myself like I'm a client
Yeah.
so that I can help myself get through the process. But I'd like for you to walk us through what that October 24 through July, August before the surgery of 25 was from a mental side.
Sure. So, I like how you said, like, removing yourself and then kind of talking inward. I think that I've learned to do that more frequently now. Um, in the beginning, it was a lot of like, why did this happen to me? What's wrong with me? You know, a lot of just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
negative self talk, a lot of self doubt, frustration, confidence issues, all that. Um, but I began to pivot and turn more into like, okay, what can I control right now? You know, what can I focus on? What goals can I be setting for myself, you know, as I'm trying to still figure out my diagnosis?
Hmm.
And letting myself also get to the place of acceptance was hard because it was hard to accept without knowing what was actually happening. Like right until I got that diagnosis last July, it was hard for me to accept the fact that something was wrong. I just don't know what, but that if I can accept the process, I can be present in the process,
Right.
right? And that is something that when I was able to work on the acceptance piece, I was able to be more patient, have more self compassion, be more just, you know, in on the moment. I might not have been enjoying everything I was
No,
doing,
of
but
course, right.
like I miss like my kids will tell you, my husband, like I used to get up 4 a.m., 5 a.m., go up on the boardwalk, run, do my sunrise and run. I mean, it was for me. Like that was
Yeah,
my escape, my mental. And so that was really hard. It's sort of like, what do I do now? You know, what do I do
right.
instead? And I still haven't been able to do that. So that's been a hard space. Um, and then getting closer to surgery was just preparing for, I think it was a big adrenaline rush, knowing it was happening so fast, but it was sort of like preparedness. Like, okay, in this 1 week before my surgery, what do I need to get organized? What do I need to get prepared for? What do I need to buy? Like, do I need crutch covers? Like, what are the
Right.
supplies I need to be comfortable?
Yep.
And to also recognize that majority of what was going to happen to me, is out of my control.
Yeah. Is that hard for
Yeah.
you in terms of yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, because you have to let go, right? The
Yeah.
body is going to heal as the body heals.
Yep.
There's not yeah, you can pay attention to eating properly and doing your PT and drinking enough water and all that
Yeah.
stuff, but, we're all different despite being the same in that way, and so your recovery time is gonna be different than my recovery time.
Mhm.
So, when you go in for surgery, it's about a year at this point,
Yeah.
correct? A year
Mhm.
from now,
Yeah.
so August 2025.
Yes.
You go in for surgery, and when you go in for surgery, or when they're prepping you for surgery, I should say, is do they give you a timeline as to when you'll start PT, start doing things so that you can then begin to run again?
So, yes, and also no. So, the hard part about what I had to go through is I was preparing for 2 surgeries. So I was getting one leg operated on at a time. So I had my right leg operated on in August of 2025 and my left leg operated on in December of 2025.
Why
And
is it separated that way? For safety reasons?
because otherwise you'd be in like a wheelchair.
Okay.
So yeah, and that really wouldn't be. I don't think I think some people may opt for that, but it's not as
Yeah.
common anymore to do it that way with the
Right.
surgeries. Let's put in like I was on crutches with my first surgery for about 12 weeks.
Okay.
I had very slow healing, which actually delayed my timeline. So we thought I was going to starting PT was going to start like 3 days post op, which I was really happy about. So PT again was my like, and still is like my comfort area, my rock.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I'm being productive, even though I may just be like wiggling my toes or doing this, but it felt like good to be in that space. I was supposed to get my second surgery 6 weeks post op of my first surgery. And my doctor was like, he kept punning it back, punning it back, punning it back because I was just not healing right. Um, I shouldn't say that. Wasn't healing well, wasn't healing according to like
Yeah.
a certain schedule. That's when I really realized I had to let go of the reins a little bit and just think about, okay, this is out of my hands, and I'm a planner, I'm an organizer. And there were a lot of things that I was like, well, can I work with this team or like, do I have to do all this stuff virtual now? Or, so that was like teaching. I did majority of my semester on Zoom because I couldn't drive. So unless my husband was going by my work, I couldn't get out there. So it was a big adjustment. And then December, I got my surgery on my left leg. Um, I thought that was going to be it. And I ended up with an infection and I had to get a third surgery in February. And I found out about that surgery when my doctor pulled me in on a Wednesday. And he said, we're going to have to go in and do like a debridement and clean everything out. He said, I'm really worried about an infection. And I said, okay, well, spring break for my work is in March. He's like, no, like, I'm going to see you on Monday. And I was like, what? So I had a surgery, like, so talk about like not
Right away. Yeah.
being able to be prepared. And that was a hard surgery. I had a drain, a pump, external stitches. That was hard.
Mhm.
The Olympics were on though, so I was preoccupied with with all that. But there was a lot of just recognizing I am really on no protocol or timeline.
Right.
And then I had a surprise injury we could talk about later if you want,
Yep.
but something else that came out of the blue that I had to deal with and navigate. So we don't know when my return to run will be or my
Yeah.
return to walk. Like that's where I'm even now, like I'd be happy just walking my dogs.
Yeah.
So that's yeah.
Have you, because it's the timeline is what the timeline is and you can't rush it and all of these things, have you in your mind, and you just said, I would be happy to walk.
Mhm.
Has there been some like a loss of confidence like in asking yourself the question, am I still a runner? Am
Mhm.
I still an athlete?
Yep. 100%, Jason. I think that identity loss has been huge. Um, and I've noticed the change because my feed used to always be like runners and,
Yeah.
training. And it's instead of referring to social media right now, but like my algorithm is very different. And my algorithm now is a lot with like mental health and injury, like with
Yeah.
other things than what it used to be. But I I have a hard time sometimes wondering like, am I going to get back to running? And one of my PTs the other day, I was having a really hard day, and he was like, why would the surgeon have done these surgeries if he didn't believe you could get back to running, JoAnne? And I was like, I know, I know. But I'm like, it just feels so far away. But so I'm looking for like the silver linings and things. But identity loss has been humongous.
I
Humongous.
think I was gonna say, I think that's super important though, the support system in getting through anything in life, right? But especially something like this where you're talking about identity loss is surrounding yourself with people who are going to be there for you and may not sugarcoat it, but also won't be just like brutally honest and punching you in the face with
Yeah.
with the honesty,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like it, like it's one thing to be brutally honest and not help, right? And it's another thing to just be toxic positivity, which also may not help.
Yeah.
But you need the people that are going to be there to support you. So if you need to cry, they're there for you. If you need to
Mhm.
curse, they're there for you. If you need a good laugh, they're there for you. And I, from what I've gathered from what you've just said, it's like your PT crew is a part of that support system. Your
Mhm.
husband is a part of that support system. Your kids are a part of that support system.
Yeah.
Like if you had to go 0 to 10, like support system is what? 78
10.
out of 10?
Oh, yeah, it's yeah, your support system is top notch. And I know, like, even when prior to my injury and surgeries and everything, like, when I work with injured athletes, that is probably one of the first conversations I have.
Yeah.
Who's in your corner right now? Like, who are you relying on? Who are you leaning on? And in every session, we probably continue to touch on it because there's so much research that shows that if you have a strong support system and a support system that stays with you throughout your recovery, there tend to be, stronger rates of return.
I want to go to the social media thing for a second there because you
Yeah.
said your feed and through the algorithm changes mental health
Yeah.
and sports. Does it make you angry? Because, and I'll preface this question with this scenario. So
Uh-oh.
coffee and soda coffee and soda one day. So here's coffee and soda
Yeah.
for forever. Angry, right? I'm like, look, I drank coffee and soda once or twice. Like, don't
Yeah.
replace everything. So, like, when you started noticing that change in the algorithm, like,
Mhm.
mentally, were you like angry that you weren't seeing the running stuff, or were you relieved that you weren't seeing the running stuff?
I think a little of both. I remember there were a couple because I mean, injury is you're on that roller
Yeah,
coaster, that emotional roller coaster. And I had my like, I'm strong as nails, I can do this moments. And then I've had my like watching TV and crying moments, or whatever. So there were a couple accounts I remember like seeing this person. I don't know if it was the music, I don't know if it was whatever they were posting about. And I was like, that's me, and then like here come the waterworks, but I felt a little bit of connection to somebody I didn't know, but it was sort of
right.
like, wow, and even now, like, I mean, I'm on a different trajectory with my recovery, but even now sometimes I'll find like it aligns. Some of it no, but a lot of it I'm like, yeah, like I feel seen even though this
Yeah,
random person doesn't know who I am, but I'm like, thank you for posting that. But
right.
also, yeah, the relief a little bit of I'm not seeing what I'm missing, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. That like, yeah,
I think
yeah.
you inadvertently have touched on a few things in this conversation. One, make sure your training peaks is updated, folks, with notes. Two, trust, right? The idea that you had trust in the doctor because you were on their podcast, you trust what that he was telling you because you had a prior connection to him. And then three, the idea, like, oftentimes we ask ourselves, should I post this on, like, who's going to care about this, blah blah blah. And here you are telling our audience, right, that one person put something up and it resonated with you.
Mhm.
And isn't that the whole point of it? Like, isn't that what we want, is to be able to have an impact on one person who will feel less alone in the
Yeah.
situation because they know that somebody else is going through it. Like, I
Mhm.
this podcast isn't about those 3 things, but you touch on those 3 things, and I think it's amazing
Yeah.
because I think oftentimes we as endurance athletes ourselves
Yeah.
tend to be prone in a lot of ways. So having trust, a coach, having a team, having a PT, having a doctor, like all of
Yeah.
these things that you've gone through, maybe quite
Mhm.
different for you if it was just you in the book club, right? Like
Yeah.
if it was
Oh,
you in a
sure.
book club and there were
Sure.
like 5 or 6 people in a book club versus millions of runners that you're scrolling past and the algorithm is feeding you this
Right.
information. It it,
Right.
it does change the dynamics there. I want to touch
Yeah.
on for you because the recovery process has now involved another injury and is extending the recovery process. So you suffered a stress fracture,
Mhm.
um, and when you figure out or find out that you have this stress fracture, is it a moment of why me? Or is it a I guess yes.
Little.
But it's hard, right? Like,
Oh,
you're like,
yeah.
"I just went through all this shit, like, why this now?"
Why now? Yeah. And I think that comes back to the advocacy thing too, right? Because when we think about stress fractures are from overload. I
Right,
wasn't overloading anything. Like I was on crutches until um March, until mid-March. And then I was not on crutches, walking finally with 2 feet. And in April, I'm like, something is feeling funky when I go like this on my foot. And I talk to my PTs and they're like, I don't know. All right, let's wean off of it a little bit. Ligaments, tendon, there's so much happening in there. It's getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. So I, of course, then say, do you think it's a stress fracture? And they're like, no, how can it be a stress fracture? You haven't done anything. I'm like, okay. And then, I mean, of course, they're like joking with me, but they're like, I wouldn't think it's a stress fracture. Well, it's not getting better. So I contact my surgeon. I mean, because I've literally, I can't even tell you how many appointments I've had with this surgeon in a calendar year. And he brings me in, we're talking, and I'm like, when I do this, when you touch here, when it doesn't hurt here, doesn't hurts right here. And he's like, let's get an MRI. Let's get an MRI. Well, I had to do steroids first. You have to do like the 5 or 7 days of like prednisone, to see if it's inflammatory. That didn't
right.
work. He's like, let's order the MRI. Stress fracture on your third metatarsal. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he came in the room when I went to my next appointment and I just started laughing. And he was like, all right, so you're getting a boot and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I think my thought was like, why me? But also at the same time, I felt like, why not me? Like,
Right,
of course this would happen. And he thinks it's just because I was non weight bearing for so long, my bones got soft, all that stuff. Um, the hard part about it was at my 6 week mark, it didn't improve. At my 12-week mark, it wasn't improving. I got another MRI. It's showing very slow healing. So now I'm in like a walking shoe, not a boot anymore because I was losing mobility again. So we're
yep,
in like a funky gray area right now. Um, but yeah, so that was another bump in the road.
yeah.
So yeah.
What do you, um what do you hope the end result of all of this is? Is it a return to running a marathon? Or are you looking at, look, I just would love to be able to walk for 3 to 5 minutes without any pain.
Yeah. I mean, I'll share this one thing. I just thought of this as you said that. I was yesterday just at like a annual checkup with a random doctor that I see. And I had my boot on or my walking shoe on. And she's like, "Oh, what happened?" And I told her. And when you say compartment syndrome to a medical professional, they are like, "What? Like, what did you have?" Because they're like, "That's insane," right? So I'm always prepared for that. And this doctor said to me, well, after this heals, I mean, you're never going to run again, right? Like, why would you put yourself through that? And I was like biting my lip and I was like, and it made me feel really small at the
Yeah,
time. And then I had to remind myself, I'm like, she was trying to be friendly. She's not my orthopedic. She's not my, PT. Like, she doesn't know my world, but it kind of stung a little bit.
yeah.
So, Yeah, so that kind of I was kind of, like, taken aback with that, but I think my end result, I would be very happy to just be able to walk without pain. That would be, like, a win for me. I would love to be able to get up on the boardwalk and just have, like, a walk and enjoy where I live and get the sunrise again, like, that would be, like, perfection. I would love to be able to do a run with my kids.
Yeah.
That was something I said to my surgeon before my first surgery. I was like, because truth be told, I told one of my children who wanted to do a turkey trot that previous November that we couldn't do it because it was going to rain.
Oh,
And I was taking myself out. I was self
yeah.
handicapping because I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. And I didn't
Right.
want to put her in a weird spot. And I said, I just want to be able to be able to do a turkey trot with my kids, you
Yeah.
know? Um, a half marathon would be awesome, but I'm not I mean, that I don't even know. So I'm just
Can't put
sort
the
of
cart before
like
the
the
horse. Yeah.
progression. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I you made me think of something as you were talking about the doctor saying you're not going to run again, are you?
Yeah.
Like we glamorize the idea of self-advocacy, right? In the way it's portrayed. This person finally stuck up for themselves and got the right this and got the right that. We see it all the time. Doctors are watching the news the same way we do. They go to the movies the same way we do. They listen to podcasts the same way that we do.
Yeah.
Why is it that why do you think that there are doctors out there who would ask that question that way, actually answer the question that way, because she wasn't asking you, but she was telling you,
Yeah.
um, knowing that like people are fighting for themselves, and there's a is it because they don't have a mental health degree like you do
Mhm.
to understand like running is important, might be important to this person, so I shouldn't shit on their dreams before I even know what
Yeah.
their dreams are.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really good question, and I think regardless of the profession that we're in, I think a lot of that has to do with like emotional intelligence, just like
Yeah.
IQ of
Yes.
things, some people are a little bit more compassionate towards others or empathetic towards others. Others may not be as much, and I don't think that makes my doctor a bad person for how they
No.
spoke to me
Agreed.
yesterday. But um you're right. Like maybe I've always been taught, like, you don't project what you're thinking or feeling to the person you're working with, right? Like,
Right.
their
Yeah. Yeah.
journey is their journey. Um, but I think that's that awareness, just that emotional intelligence, emotional awareness when you're with other people and recognizing that, like, is it okay to say that? Is that not okay to say? I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like we had Zach Friedley on our Enduring Minds podcast, and Zach has a blade. He runs with a blade, so he's disabled.
Mm,
And he says when he goes to the grocery stores, like he can tell when the person is like, burying a hole in him because they're just staring at him.
sure. Sure.
And they'll ask a question to him along the lines of what happened to you. And what he said to us, Evan and I, was something that I'll never forget. He said, "You're asking me to relive what is possibly the very worst day, or
Mhm.
the very possible worst day I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
So instead of asking me that question, think about how you should ask that question in a different way. And
Sure.
why are you asking that question?" And so for your doctor, and for not just for doctors, but for people in general, before you ask a question, right? Think about what it is that you are asking and the why are you asking it,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're just inquisitive about how a person lost their leg,
Mhm.
um, consider the social, or excuse me, the mental impact of them having to relive that moment,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Because we don't know the story, which is why
No.
we're asking the question.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if we could. What was the old adage we were taught? Like, think before you speak.
Mhm.
Like, if we could just stop for a second and think before we speak, like in that doctor, in that moment, she could have easily have said, "Is running something you'd like to get back to?"
Right. Right.
That's
That's a
that's it,
good way to phrase it. Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
if that's it, not you don't plan on running, do you? Like, it's almost
Yeah.
like like back in the day when your mom would be yelling at you.
Don't do that. Yeah. 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 No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's just something that like you learn over time. I guess I'm sure we've all asked. I know I've asked questions I
A
probably
hundred
shouldn't have,
percent,
or have phrased
100%.
things the wrong way or whatever. And then you're like, ooh, like that wasn't
Yeah,
right. Like I need to fix
yeah,
that. Right. But you're right. Like everybody has their own stories, their own traumas, their own experiences, and you don't know what will trigger them, right?
right,
Um, but also when we think about the self-advocacy space, when you are in that position to advocate for yourself, nobody realizes how much guts that takes to be able to
yes,
do that. And I think that's where sometimes we need to, if we're on the receiving end of that conversation from that athlete or from that person, sometimes it's like, okay, can we check our ego, put our ego to the side for a minute and listen? Just listen
mhm,
to what this person is trying to share and convey. Because sometimes when our egos are a little bit too big, that's where all of a sudden the person who has like got all their energy behind them, right, to say this one thing is then like,
yeah.
squished a little bit.
I think one of the issues that we face is that in social media, we don't have to listen. Because there's no
Yeah,
context coming across the screen, right?
true.
JoAnne types out 17 words, hits post. I
Mhm,
receive it in the moment in which I am in. I
mhm.
don't receive it in the moment in which JoAnne is sending it to me.
Correct.
And so I may have had a great moment, and so I'm receiving it positively. I may have just had a crap moment, and I'm receiving it negatively. There's
Yeah.
no tone of voice in social media and posting or text messages or email for that matter. And so I think the art of conversation has been lost, which
Mm,
means that we have also lost the ability to actively listen, right? When you go to meetings, everybody walks in with their phone, right? And they turn it over as if that somehow prevents them from thinking there's a message coming through that
yeah.
phone and I really want to touch it, right? Like
Or it's
I
coming
really
through their
want
watch, so
right. Like there's something that's coming in, right?
yeah.
And it's almost like ban all phones in meetings so that like don't even bring them in there, ban all watches, like there's a clock on the wall so that we can actually connect with each other and have conversations. Like I'm in a podcast booth in our new apartment complex.
Mhm.
And to the right of me, there are teenagers playing ping pong. And in my head, I'm like, dummy, why did you pick this seat? Right? There's two other podcast booths that I could have gone into. And so there's a distraction there. And I think that because we're so technology is so ingrained in our lives these days that we lose that emotional intelligence because we're just typing and
Sure.
we can't see the person's face when they receive our message.
Mhm,
They can't hear our voice and we can't hear their voice coming back. And I think that creates the opportunity for a lot of friction to happen so that
mhm.
when we do end up in person, we say things like, "You're not going to run, are you?" Instead of saying, "Is running something you plan on getting back to?"
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the same concept, but one's a little softer in the delivery and allows you to now control the narrative instead of me controlling the narrative and how I say it.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
So we're running out of time, and I want to be cognizant of that for
Mhm.
you. But you've had you made for those of you listening, JoAnne made a motion with her hands of waves going up and down with
Yeah.
the injury. And
Yeah.
so, as you're getting through this process today, you're coming up on the 12-month anniversary of the surgery, and the idea and the goal for you is to walk, run with your kids again one day, get on to the boardwalk and do the turkey trot thing as well.
Mhm.
Um, is that motivation for you to continue in that process even on the hard days, or does it feel like a moving target that you're never going to achieve?
I think a little of both, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I have not, I believe I said to my surgeon like 2 weeks ago when I was with him at an appointment, I said, I can't even test out what the 3 surgeries did because of the stress fracture.
right.
So I'm all over the place, so some days so yes, I use it as motivation, like something better is coming, something better is down the pipeline. But there are some days absolutely that I'm like, it's never happening. Like never happening. Like I shared that
Yeah.
my PT's like, well, he would not have done this surgery if you would not
Right.
have been able to do, right? Like nobody would put you through that type of surgery for that. And so I think it's a mix of both. I think it depends on the day. It
Yeah.
depends on how I'm feeling, like my confidence levels, if I'm in pain or not with my legs and with my stress fracture, how PT is going, or it was hard having the stress fracture. Well, I still have it, but I had to kind of step away from PT for a little bit because I couldn't do anything.
Right.
So I like routine, and that consistency was kind of gone because it was just pop in once every other week. And I was like, why even come? And then I would make
Yeah.
myself go. So I'm hoping to get that consistency back. And then yeah, hopefully climb back into who I am. But I think I just really learned to be present in the day
Yeah.
and the moment, and not think 3 months from now, which is hard because it's important to have those goals that you want to achieve. And I think
Yeah.
that's hard as an endurance athlete because that's how we're wired to think about what we're completing in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months,
Right.
and not to have anything on the calendar. That's been really, really hard the past couple years for me, because then it's like, why get out of bed today? Like, why
Yeah.
would I get out? I'm hitting the snooze a little bit longer,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
not my norm. So that's been a hard adjustment too.
Have you found yourself looking at other hobbies, other ways to channel that energy where because you're not um, walking, running, swimming, cycling?
I did my best after I don't sit well.
Yeah,
And
same.
do not sit well. I knew with being on crutches that it was going to be hard and painful. So I bought like little coloring things. It was like dot
Yeah.
coloring, and I was like going through them like crazy. They occupied my mind a little bit.
Yep.
I got into reading more.
Yep.
um, I got more creative with my business. I actually created because of what I went through with a fellow PT. That's one of my colleagues. We created our own um, project, really, I guess you could say, where we're talking about collaborative care for injured athletes.
Yep.
So we started that process because I'm like, I don't want anybody to go through what I've gone through and feel alone.
Yep.
So I think I've gotten more creative in that space. Um, I wish I had more interesting hobbies, but those have been some of
Look,
my hobbies. Yeah.
if
My
if
kids,
you
I
read
think my
it,
kids take up a lot of my time, but
yeah, of course
they're
they do.
hobbies.
If you read as slow as I do, then you would know that reading would take up so much time just to get through one book. I
I
saw
know.
somebody post this morning that they read 250 pages today.
Oh my gosh.
Today! I
That's a
was like,
lot.
"That would take me, like, 9 months alone." Like, I read super slow. Is there a book that you've read that, has had an impact on you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like you just
Yeah.
really truly
I
enjoyed it?
I had it around here. I love Brene Brown.
Yeah,
So like I reread like Dare to Lead. I reread Gifts of Imperfection. I just find her to be very wholesome and true.
yeah,
So those were books that I went back to a lot during my surgeries because they're easy for me to kind of just like it resonates the way she
yeah.
talks and her experiences.
Which probably led to starting this new collaboration that
Yeah.
you started with me. Yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
one thing leads
Yeah.
to another for sure.
Yeah.
Alright, well, as you know, we do some food questions at the end. You've
Oh.
answered so many of them already, but we have a show called What's in Your Earbuds, and 2 weeks ago, the conversation was surrounding music, and then Oreos, as you know, would end up into the conversation. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna present to you some What's in Your Earbuds conversations. So, what are you listening to these days? Is it music, podcasts, or audiobooks?
Um, when I'm driving, it's music. I haven't really listened to any podcasts. Well,
Yeah,
a couple, but not too many. Not too many.
yep. It's amazing, like, I would talk to so many people, and who's listening to podcasts? Because and we're on one, don't get me wrong.
I know. I used to listen to them when I would walk.
Oh, that
Like,
makes sense.
I
Yeah.
couldn't do running in a podcast. I get very
No,
I would be
me
like,
neither.
"What is happening?"
Yeah.
Um, but I would listen to the Office podcast, The Office Ladies.
Yeah.
I love The Office. Their whole podcast, and it was great because 'cause I'm, like, visualizing the episodes, and
Right.
so that's one I used to listen to, but I haven't listened to it in forever.
Yeah. It's amazing because I've had a conversation recently with another podcast host, and I explained to them that I talked to a third podcast host like a year or two ago, and I asked him, "What are you listening to?" And he said, "I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to running podcasts." And the reason he told me he doesn't listen to them is because he's like, then I will end up emulating their podcast on mine. And so now I've just created a second of their
Ah,
podcast because I'm listening to it so consistently.
interesting.
Yeah, I
That
thought
makes
it was
sense.
really interesting.
Yeah.
So mostly music. Who's your
Mhm.
favorite musician? Who's your favorite artist?
I'm I'm a blend. So I just go on like Amazon Music and I hit alternative and I've been in the 90s and 2000s alternative and I just let it go. Anything in there makes me happy.
And so no singular artist that you would be like, I need to go to their concert.
No, not right now. No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
kind of ruins the whole rest of these questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jason. I mean,
Well, here's
I
so
can
I'm
think
gonna
of one.
pose it to you anyway. I'll make you think of it. So the question came up like, if a musician could be an Oreo, like what flavor would they be? And Luther Vandross was one of the first ones because I love Luther Vandross. And I would, we started getting into the conversation was like, it has to be chocolate and it has to be like ganache covered Oreo because Luther is smooth, right? Like everything
Oh,
he did was super smooth and velvety. And so like a ganache covered Oreo was Luther. You need to pick a musician and tell me what the Oreo would be.
all right. Let's see.
You said
So
all
when my kids are in the car, when my girls are in the car, they've been listening to Megan Maroney all the
yeah.
time. So if it was Megan Maroney, something like light, fluffy, and pink, I think would be
Cotton candy.
cotton candy Oreo. That would be
Yes, the
good.
cotton candy Oreo. See, this is a fun
Yes.
game.
This
Are
is a
they
fun
not
game.
are they not Swifties?
They're not Swifties.
Interesting, 'cause they would
Yeah.
they be of that age? I mean, they're young girls,
Yeah,
they're
they're
of
of
that
that
age.
age. They are not
Yeah.
Swifties. I don't know why, but that's okay. But they're into her, and we were listening to it today actually. But yeah, I would say something cotton candy. Cotton candy's
I
perfect.
I
Yeah.
like your husband's from the Bronx, which is the home of hip hop. So, I don't know if your husband is into hip hop at all, but if he is, like, is there any rapper or hip hop artist from the Bronx that would resonate with him in a particular type of Oreo?
Oh my goodness, I am not good at these questions, Jason. Um,
You're gonna have to ask him after the
I'll have
show
to
and
ask
email
him.
me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, a week from yesterday, so on August 10th, you'll have to tune into the live. Have your husband tune into the live because we are
Okay.
going to be going through this process on what's in your earbuds. It'll be on Instagram, and we're gonna be talking about musicians as Oreos throughout the show. So join the live and pitch in with whatever you come up. So you got a week. You got a week to come up with an answer. JoAnne, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing your story. I'm sure there were moments that are not easy to relive, but you shared them with us and you share them with our audience so that one, they feel less alone going through this process and knowing that somebody else has had to do it. And two, I hope that there's been some um, positive relief for you to share this story on your own to
Mhm.
be like, yeah, I've gone through some shit and I'm coming out the other end.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been very therapeutic. I've been looking forward to this, to being on here because I was like, it's time to talk, time to share
Awesome.
with other people. Yeah. So thank
I
you.
I appreciate you. Thanks, JoAnne.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. For those of you who stuck around, thank you so much. That was a great conversation, and honestly, there's a lot more in there than just the words that were coming out. We talked about making sure you update your notes in your training peaks, and yes, it's good for your coach, but it's good for you to be able to go back and look at and say, oh, this is when this may have started. Two, advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself. If you know something doesn't feel right, isn't working right, you got to talk about it and let people know about it. surround yourself with supportive people. Look, we have the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse here that we have built, and it is a collective of about 160 athletes. We have a private Slack channel. We use the close friends option on our Instagram feed, and we really talk everything out, and we let people know that they're not alone in this process. So support yourself, surround yourself with supportive people that will help you get through the hard times and celebrate with you the good times. And there is no accomplishment too small to celebrate. So hopefully you've got those three things at a minimum out of this conversation with JoAnne, amongst other things. Appreciate you spending time with us. Come back next week as we will be chatting with Melanie Catcher, who is a fantastic cyclist, who I love her Instagram feed because there's always croissants or bagels or donuts from her coffee rides. And she's doing some hard shit up in Canada too with the bike rides that she's doing and elevations she's climbing. So come back next week. Appreciate you all. I will have another show for you 7 days from now. Bye-bye.